Welcome back to Push to Be More. I'm your host, Matt Edmundson, and today we've got another phenomenal conversation about what fuels this thing we call life. And joining me today, I'm really looking forward to this, Neil Rogers, who is the author of the phenomenally entitled book, Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar, which has some insanely good reviews on Amazon, not going to lie. We're going to be diving into his unique life experiences, the hurdles he's had to push through, and the way he recharges his batteries. In other words, push to be more. What does that look like? Now, don't forget, you can find all of the detailed show notes and complete transcript of our conversation at pushtobemore.com. And whilst you're there, if you haven't done so already, sign up to the newsletter. And every week we send you the information from the guests, the links, the goodies, the notes. They go straight to your inbox, which is totally free and totally cool. It just keeps you on top of things. Let me give a big shout out to PodJunction, the company that helps you build your business with podcasting, because they have sponsored today's show. They are the magic behind the scenes that lets entrepreneurs and business leaders like you and me amplify our voices and own new and very interesting marketing channels with our own podcasts. But you might be thinking, why on earth would I want to do that? Well, let me tell you, podcasting is phenomenal. My journey with it has been exceptional. I'm not going to lie. I've just loved every minute. I get to meet amazing people like Neil. So it's a great way to reach out. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to market. It's a great way to build community and connection and all of that good stuff. And if you want to understand it more, if you want to find out about it, if you don't know what strategy, I mean, all that sort of stuff. You know, where do I begin, Matt? Go to podjunction.com. It's a lot easier than you think to run your own podcast, and you will be amazed at the results. So definitely go try it, podjunction.com. Now, let's talk about Neil. Neil Rogers is an author, speaker, and marketing guru with 37 years of experience turning sales into success stories. He's a master of blending old school charm with new school marketing strategies to drive revenue and deliver results. In his book, which I mentioned, Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar, he spills the secrets he picked up while bartending, showing how those skills helped him become a business leader. Whether he's shaking up sales or stirring up marketing magic, he knows a thing or two about how to keep things flowing. Neil, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you. How are we doing?
Matt, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me. This is wonderful from across the pond.
Across the, love technology that enables us to do the whole across the pond thing.
Dude, I'm such a simpleton. I still marvel at it every time and you know, I'm just emailed my admin in the Philippines, and I'm talking to you in the over in England, and it's just, and we're looking at each other. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I was talking to we had some people around the dinner. I have this thing, Neil, that wherever possible, we always eat dinner together as a family, right? Just one of my little things. We also have a couple of people that live with us. We call them lodgers. You know, they live in our house. We have some spare rooms, so we have people come live with us. And we would sat around the dinner table last night talking about using the phone, right? And I was like, I made some phone calls, and if I need something doing, I'd like today, before our conversation, I needed to check in with somebody I'd never met. So I just called them up and said, tell me about what you do, right? And everybody under the age of 25 was having palpitations with the idea of picking up the phone to call somebody. It's like, well, oh no, I don't want to do that, especially if I don't know them. What do you mean I have to call them? And it's really interesting, isn't it, how technology has changed how we communicate.
Do you know the comedian Gary Gulman, excuse me?
No.
Try him. He's got a bit. He did one of the things he says, I've got this app on the phone. It's very, it's the most unused part of the app on the phone. It's the phone.
Yeah.
So I've got some customers too that I've got one in particular. I call her at times. She goes and she answers the phone. I said, "You're my favorite millennial. You answer your phone." The value of a conversation. Back and forth. And back.
Yeah.
Even my son, who you've experienced, as he booked us with you guys, and he sent me something yesterday. I said, "Dude, it's time for a chat.
Yeah.
We need. Yeah, this is just. I am lost in what you're sending me. So you may be able to decipher this. I cannot. So get off my lawn." Right?
Yeah, totally.
I know. By the way, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Lawn. That's
Lawn.
Boston. That's Boston.
Lawn. Yeah. Boston's a beautiful part of the world. I'm slightly envious you live there. And I do like that Boston accent. You know, where you draw words out like that. It is quite stunning.
And believe it or not, this isn't even close.
No, it gets a lot stronger, doesn't it?
That's Massachusetts right there, but I live in New Hampshire.
Right.
It's just over the border. I'm about 35 miles outside of Boston. Mm-hmm. When you get down there, pal, bro, it's a whole nother deal, dude. Dude, I'm telling you. You just can't believe it.
Very good. I should learn to mimic that one day, but maybe for another show.
I'll give you one more, and then let's move on. But if you go to another YouTuber, go to Seth Meyers, the Boston accent. It's priceless.
Seth Meyers. I'm making a note with an old-fashioned pen and paper.
How about that? Imagine that.
Imagine that. I can still write. Yeah. So I've got Gary Coleman and I've got Seth Meyers, the Boston accent to go. And
Gary
check out.
Gulman with a G. G-U-L-L.
Oh, Gorman.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary Gorman. Very good.
And they're all from the area. Myers is from Manchester, New Hampshire, which is halfway up there, and Gulman's from Mass.
Okay, there you go. I will check them out.
There you go. Enough of my nonsense. Let's move on, Matt. You run the show now. Now that I've taken over.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Appreciate that. Just to hand the reins back. So let's start
now back to you, Matt.
Yeah. Now back to our reporter in the UK, live in the UK. Let's start off with our question we ask everybody. Neil, I'm curious, especially curious for your answer. If you had a podcast and you can have anybody as a guest on your show, past or present, that's had a big influence on your life, who would that be and why?
This is going to be an emotional answer.
Okay.
I would have my non-speaking son with apraxia who can communicate now using this program we found called Spelling to Communicate.
Right.
I'd have him on.
Wow.
Because we've just discovered this program, Matt, in the last 2 years. He's 33 years old.
Oh, wow.
We've never heard from him. Never.
Wow.
He's been trapped inside his own mind for 30 years, 30 plus years. And he knows everything. Everything. It staggers me. So you wonder why there were behavior problems, why he flapped, why he chinned, and all that. He's trapped inside his head. He knows so much, and they're trying to teach him simple math, and he can solve for X.
Yeah.
Wild. So that's been our life for the last 2 years, and it's changed it completely, and it's and to the positive, incredibly positive. It set us in a different direction about what we were hoping for him now. What we hoped from him then: safe, secure, environment. Now he wants to graduate college.
Oh wow.
If we wind up hooking up personally on, I'll get you hooked up. He's blogging. He's posting to Facebook and Instagram. He writes it. Someone else has to type it just now, but he will get to a point where he'll be able to put it right in. So, wow. It'll be amazing. So it's matter of fact, my wife currently is on the radio downtown here with a spelling to communicate expert, trying to spread the word. And I hope we spread the word here to the world that anybody that has got a non-speaker, which is about 30% of the autistic population. Yeah. Check it out. There's something there, and You'll have my contact information, people out there, and you can email me, call me, do whatever you want. I want to sing this from the mountaintops, because he would.
No doubt.
I'll give you a quick little example. So you read age-appropriate lessons, right? It's not, we don't treat him like a child. It's not Craigie this or Craig. It's Craig. He's a 33-year-old man. We presume competence.
Yeah.
But the model is, you have these lessons that are prescribed, and then there's questions that you ask him in the body of that, from content from the body of the lesson. So I read him a lesson on cells, right? So in the paragraph was molecules and DNA, the acronym. And then I finished up, and then I asked the requisite questions. And at the time, I had this coach with me who's actually on the radio with my wife right now.
Yeah.
And I said, so Beth, what do you think? Can I ask him? She goes, go ahead. Craig, what does the acronym DNA stand for? Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Stunning the crows.
Huh? Then there was another lesson shortly thereafter. I don't know exactly when. And there was a picture of Muhammad Ali. I don't know why he was on there, because it didn't reference the story, but whatever. So again, at the end of the requisite questions, I asked Beth again. She goes, give it a go. Craig, who's that in the picture? Muhammad Ali. My friend, hold on. It gets better.
Yeah.
Craig, what's his real name? Cassius Clay.
Wow.
Recently, I've been doing a lot, and here's another one. We'll move on if you'd like after this, but I'll give you this. They'll give you this one. I think this kind of ties into what the theme of the call is. But recently, I've done a lot of research in certain areas that about what may or may not have caused this, right?
Yeah.
And he told my wife one day, through spelling, Dad's been on a rant. Ask him to calm down. He has never, Matt, he's not heard me say a word. He know from my energy, and he doesn't even live with us. This is like, there's something else in play here that's like unbelievable. I get the fact that his senses are so heightened that he hears everything, he absorbs everything. I get somewhere, some way, I might have said Cassius Clay is Muhammad Ali's real name.
Yeah.
But I guess the question would be, does he know what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's real name is? And that could be a whole nother, right? But yeah, so it's like it's so unexplained. I mean, it's so unexplained, that routine right there with the feeling my energy. And because I literally the weekend before had taken a look at him in this beautiful picture of him and my two other children, young, they all, cute and young and all that. And I looked at him, and I was just in my bedroom down in our place in Plymouth, Mass. You may recall that place. And I just broke down.
Wow.
I said, did this really have to happen to him? Because of these things that I've been researching. So anyway, so I think all that, and he just felt it. And so I've been trying. He'll probably even know about this conversation. I should probably cut it off right now. So
wow.
But yeah, so that's who I would have on, Matt. I mean, if I think he'd be so intriguing. It would be unbelievable. Especially once he gets to a point where he can use the keyboard. Because just real quick, we use a 26-letter stencil board, because the whole thing is his front motor cortex is not firing signals down to his fine motor skills. So your lips, your tongue, etc. He doesn't write very well, but he can point. He has gross motor skills. So we give him, we use the chopstick, because it pokes through the stencil of the letters, so you know which letter he's spelling. So it's accurate. So yeah, he'd be there's my guest.
That's Neil. Thank you for that. I I've asked this question many times, and it's, I'm always intrigued by the answer. No one's ever given me a bad answer to that question because every answer is deeply personal, right? Mm-hmm. And the most common answer, I think, is I should probably check, but my anecdotal gut feel would be most people would answer their dad, Jesus, or Tony Robbins, right? To that sort of that question, which is quite an interesting trio. We've had people mention things like Dolly Parton, which is, I found fascinating. But to the best of my knowledge, no one's ever said their son. And the fact, it's such a powerful story, isn't it? Your son's got all of this stuff and now actually has found a way to start to communicate. I mean, going back to talking, communication and telephones and things. But to find a way to communicate what's inside him, I mean, what a gift.
To be able to participate in his decisions. Mm. So we went for years. We're very natural people here. We don't, right now I'm for the month of October, I'm completely plant-based as an example. I meditate, I go to yoga, I do Pilates, I do all these mindful behaviors. And it was a bad day when we had to put him on meds. And it was, he was well into his 20s, but it was just, he was uncontrolled. His OCD was off the charts and whatnot. But all because of this. In my view, it's because he couldn't communicate. Yeah. And he's being, I started a program here, and this is Nashua, New Hampshire. I started a program here, first of its kind, for an intensive needs classroom in a community college. He got kicked out. My kid got kicked out of the program I started. In retrospect, as I see this now, and I've actually shared his blog post, his most recent blog post, with the people that now run the program that I started. I mean, I founded it. It was my concept, I should say. They do all the work. And I said, this would have made a difference 5 years ago. He wouldn't have been the way he wouldn't have been as, not unruly, but, just off. Yeah. So now with the advent of the program, where we upticked his exercise, we've got a I found this great kid in one of my Pilates studios who's training to be an MMA fighter. Okay. Right. Cool guy though, in his 30s. When you meet somebody and they, you're having a conversation and, I'm Kyle, I'm Neil. Hey, hey, have a good workout. See you next time. And then when you see him next time and he says, hey, Neil, how you doing? Hold on. Yeah. Did a 30-something just remember my name?
Quick, sign him up.
I think I might have something here. So later on, I asked him, I said, Kyle, what is it you do to sustain yourself? He says, well, I drive Uber. I said, wonderful. I love a hustler. You've got a vision, you got a passion, you want to be an MMA fighter. I get it. I don't want to get, but I said, how's driving Uber on Saturday and Sunday afternoons? He goes, kind of quiet. I said, don't tell me now. I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you consider working with my 33-year-old son with autism? Take him to the gym, take him on hikes, whatever. He goes, so he came to me afterwards. He goes, Neil, I think I'd like to give that a try. He's been with him for 5 months, every weekend, twice a weekend. He sends us texts before he picks him up. And he says, it's going to be another great day. Then he'll send us a text afterwards of some feat that Craig did that he's never been able to do. Like, step ups on blocks, on boxes. I don't know if you guys do, if that's a part of your functional training over there. But so, he goes right. Then he shifts to left, right? Which you and I can do the drop of a hat. That's motor planning that he's never seen. Right. But because of this newfound, confidence on being heard, I've got this kid. I've got a kid who's my age, 34. Craig's 33. Yeah. And he's, and Craig wants to look like him too. I want abs. I mean, he tells Laura, I want abs. I want to be in good shape and all that. And it's happening. He's got a French fry problem that I'm not so sure we can crack. but but he is trimmed down. And the other thing that is done, so he then back to how he participates in his care. Lori brings him to the psychiatrist to stop weaning him off the meds. So we're weaning him off the meds, and he says when.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't say it, but I mean,
he communicates it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's
so.
I'm curious, Neil, if I can ask you this question, because I have a son who has had medical conditions, and it's certainly, and I'm not comparing him because I think it's very different. But I find myself as a dad. He's in his early 20s now, and things are starting to change and look better. And if I'm honest with you, that's more on him than the medical practice. And I sit back and I look back and go, could I have done more? Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm curious, do you have this where because you've got all this amazing breakthrough that is going on now for your son. Do you look back and go, how do you deal with it? I suppose what was and what is. Are you quite able just to sort of put a line and rule past it, or does it affect you?
So I'm actually speaking at his school or his program as the keynote speaker of their annual event next month. And it is, the title of the speech is Navigating the Special Needs World with Positivity and Creativity. Mm-hmm. So we jumped in like anybody else, by the way, I don't care what's wrong with your kid. When there's something wrong with your kid, it ain't a good day.
No.
So no matter what, whether it's severe, not severe, I don't care. It's just not, what's severe in one person's eye is simple enough, so it doesn't matter. So we immediately jumped in. So as a matter of fact, the speech is going through my head as I've started to write. I've written I've written the outline, but I wanted to, it's from the day I was in a car in New Jersey working when Lori called me and told me that he was diagnosed with PDD. So what is PDD? Pervasive developmental disorder. Then you listen to all the characteristics and you go, oh, he's autistic. But it was one of those kind of like make you feel good things, I think.
Yeah.
I said, well, let me ask you a question. Is there can we work with him? Can we make him better? And she goes, yes. Okay, then that's what we're going to do. So for every step, we did not leave any stone unturned to find out how we could help him make his life better. And it's that persistent. It's that, I shouldn't say, I like the word tenacity more than persistence, because this is kind of the part of my business speech I give, is that persistence sounds like a pest for a reason. Tenacity is something where you do something a little more creative, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the positivity and creativity comes in. That's what equals tenacity. So we just kept moving, and Lori was tireless with her research, doing every medical intervention, nothing that would hurt him, but all sorts of vitamin therapies and whatnot. And so not real, I wouldn't call it, not the medical community hasn't figured this out.
Yeah.
And not that they're not interested, but as a general rule, we're really not interested, because I'm not so sure they're going to like what they find in the end. Right. So anyway, so we started with that, and then we went into, so what can we control once we got to a point? Well, we can help them get educated better. So we started a foundation for special needs education that we ran for 18 years here in the city. And that provided support to the people on the front lines. So the paraprofessionals, I don't know what you call them in England, but the people that work directly with the kids that are usually governed by a teacher or some sort of more technically professional person. But the paraprofessionals were unbelievable, but they paid them nothing, so so it's hard to keep them and all that. So we supported them through fundraising events, and then there was and we put all the money right back into the programs so that a special needs teacher could dial in and grab Velcro, or other school supplies that weren't budgeted. And it started out with sensory integration equipment, which we found that Craig's to get him regulated, he needed to swing or in that type of thing. So that was the first thing we raised money for. We raised $2,500 for that. But then it just grew, and then we did other programs. We did things like these paraprofessionals, they got paid for the time they were with the kids. So they never got, if they had meeting time, like before school, they didn't get paid. Now, these people weren't getting paid a lot of money. We paid them. So we gave them the money to pay the paraprofessionals to come to the meetings. So that was part A. And so we kept on doing that. All the while, we're still looking for medical interventions, and, we're running, nothing was ever around the corner, Matt.
Right.
Traip's getting a plane to go to Naperville, Illinois, a 5-hour car ride to Rhinebeck, New York. Even when we found Spelling to Communicate, the first practitioner we could find was in Rhode Island, which is 2 hours from here in a car. So, but of course we did it. Oh, Lori did. Lori gets a lot of the credit for what's gone on for Craig. So we just kept after it, and even with, and then I talked about the keeping him in a school environment. So I needed to find a way to keep him in a school environment. I did. I found a willing president of a local community college who got my vibe, had an autistic grandson, gave me a classroom. Boom. So he was a student body of one for like 6 or 8 months. But I think we've run through, if I had to guess, over 100 kids through that program. Some have graduated from the college. So we just kept involved, but always with his, always he was the leader in it. We wanted to make his life better, and we were happy to make everybody else's life better too, if that was possible. So, and that's kind of how we almost didn't do the Spelling to Communicate thing.
Wow.
Because we had I'm a bike rider. And so I locally I ride with a group here, and then I have a group that I ride with in Plymouth, Mass. And this woman came right up to me one day. She goes, "Neil, you've read Underestimated, haven't you?" She knows I have Craig, and I knew she's got a nephew with autism. I said, "No." She goes, "Neil, it's an autism miracle." Do you know, Matt, do you know what the last thing a parent of a 33-year-old man who's been so he was diagnosed somewhere around 26 months, somewhere in that range, wants to hear? That there's another miracle.
Yeah.
All that sounds like to me is cash out of pocket and disappointment.
Yeah.
So the book, but out of respect for Eliza, I bought the book, put it on the coffee table. Lori walked past it, looked at it, goes, had no interest because of the tagline. Autism, it's an autism miracle. So she goes to see a new functional doctor, naturopath. We've known her from the past. She left the area. She's back, so we're back with her now. I don't know. Second thing out of her mouth, "You've read Underestimated, haven't you?" Lori goes, "Well, no, but I will." Yeah. So that night, of course, Lori jumped in. She read it, and it's staggering because when you listen to this, so it was written by this guy J.B. Handley, and with his son Jamie, and their path with their lives and how they felt as they were going through Spelling to Communicate, and how they had trepidation too. It's like what if I'm disappointed yet again? I mean, I brought it to my favorite breakfast place to read it, dude. You don't want to see a 64-year-old man crying in the middle of it. It's not a good look. So if I said, let's close that for now, we'll come back to that.
I'll read
but
that
the point of all that is, so no, yes. Do I wish I found Spelling to Communicate 6 years ago? Yeah. But the thing is, and what my message to the people next month is going to be, stay at it. Stay positive. Find those little gems, those little things that you see that make your day brighter, that they've and those severity goes back. It's a wide range in autism or any other special need. But if you can find that one thing that just brings you joy, grab yourself a journal book and write it down every day.
Yeah.
Right. Turn your mind to a place of creativity. So we pretty much stay in an area because we do these practices, and they're by the way they're proven through this book called Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor, who studied happiness for 12 years at Harvard. And how are Harvard people not happy? Well, I mean, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But he found these practices that raise your happiness level because you control it. You control 90% of it.
Yeah.
The rest of it is your car, your home, your money you have. Yeah. That's 10%. That's according to Sean. I believe him. So when I do these practices, and all I can say to your listeners, when I do these practices, and by the way, you can find them on our website, positiveactivity.net. I feel I'm better than when I don't. It's like when I talk about my book. These are the things that work for me.
Yeah.
Take a look at them. See if you can fit them into your day. If you can, great. I'm just here to tell you, when I do these things, it works. Yeah. When I don't do them, it doesn't work as good. Right? It's not like, if you do these 5 things, you're gonna be 10 times. No, please stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Another huckster gives me that routine. But that's moved to the point. But yeah, so that's So give yourself some grace, Matt. Everybody, we're doing the best we can with the tools that we had. I was the 7th of 8 of a negative Irish Catholic family.
Right.
It's tough. And when I started PACE, Parents Assisting Special Education, just back up, that's the kind of the parent group foundation that we had for education. The one requirement that if you wanted to be part of this group is that you left the grievances at the door.
Right.
Come in with solutions, with ideas, with whatever, but don't come in whining about the school and what they're not doing. I'm not interested. We all have the same story.
Yeah.
It does nothing to progress, to give us, to move the ball forward, as they say. So
it's a really interesting point. And Neil, let me commend you guys, because it's an inspiring story. And for you and your wife and your son, the idea that you just keep doing what you can do, right? We had a guest on the show called Ram Giddamal, who's an absolute legend. He was one of our earlier guests. And he was talking about how he was an immigrant in the UK in the 60s from India, and that's not a good. It was not a good time to be an Indian immigrant in the UK. But
I can imagine.
He said, there were so many things that we couldn't do, so we just started asking, what could we do? And this question sort of stuck in my head over the years. What can we do when faced with stuff? It's like, I know what I can't do, but what can I do? And let's just keep trying. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's keep trying something, staying positive, but at the same time, giving yourself a little bit of grace, especially where your kids are involved, I think is a very powerful thing, because I think it's easy to be derailed by guilt, or it's easy to be derailed by anger, because you feel like the medical community, in whatever that looks like, is not doing enough to solve your particular problem because the problem's not going away, right?
Right. Yeah, it's there is some of that. I'm again, nobody. Well, is in baseball parlance, nobody bats 1,000.
That's right.
But you don't want to bat 333. I know that gets you into the Hall of Fame, but we want to do better than that. But 80% is, if you can hit 800 with what you're trying to do, especially as it relates to your kids, you're doing pretty good. But and we try every day, and like I said, we do these practices. I mean, my wife is light years ahead of me. She grew up in a different environment. I love my family. Don't get me wrong. I have no grievances with my parents. It's just what they knew.
Yeah.
It's just what they knew. I mean, it's like, there was no Socratic method going on in the Rogers household. I promise you. It wasn't like, hey, Neil, let's think deeper. What else? No, it's, I went to my mother. I went to my mother in May of my senior year in high school and said, is there something I should be doing next year? Now we've got it mapped out from what DNA right up until, we're setting aside college money and all this stuff. It's like, believe me, my mother wasn't thinking about how she was going to pay for my college. I promise you that.
Yeah.
And of course, back then, I think a semester was $500 back when I was going.
Different, the fees my children pay for university and the fees I pay are just eye-wateringly different. I feel. I looked out in terms of timing.
Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to really investigate that either. It's another one of those anomalies. Just kind of keep raising the rates.
Oh, I mean, not to interfere with the U.S. education system, but I mean, England is very different to how the U.S. works. And I look at the US system and go, that is nuts. I mean, that is beyond nuts, what is going on with colleges. And not to be divisive in my opinion, I'm just an outsider. I'm looking at that going, I don't understand how that is right in any way when it comes to education. But maybe I see it different.
No, my friend. Logic is the international language. You can speak. There's not being divisive. My daughter graduated from Boston University in 2013. It's now 24. She was a scholarship athlete and academic. So her award that year was full scholarship at $55,000. Mm-hmm. It's 80 plus now. $360,000 for full tuition to send your kid to a place like that. And oh, by the way, you could send them we may be going off topic here, so stop me. You could send them to the College of General Studies at Boston University at $80,000 a year. It's a community college within Boston University. They could go to Bunker Hill Community College right around the corner for probably $10,000 a year now. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah. When
I flunked out of there, it was $250. That's a whole nother. We want to go down that path. I mean, it's like, so I do kick off a lot of my business talks with, okay, how many people that flunked out of 2 community colleges? No, nobody. You met one now.
Well, it's good to have a claim to fame, I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to have a claim to fame. No, I could wax lyrical about the education system, but like you said, I think going back to what you said earlier, I can sit and I can complain, and I think there's a place to do that, and I think there's a place to protest, I suppose, some of these things with our leaders in the right way. But I think I love what Stephen Covey wrote in the 7 Habits book, about being responsible. You are able to choose your response. That's what responsibility means. You can't necessarily choose what's going to happen to you, but you can choose how you respond to what is happening to you. And there is immense freedom and power in that simple sentence, I think. And going, well, yeah, this is all good. Okay, so what am I going to do in response to this? I'm, and being positive, being creative, being entrepreneurial, maybe in your approach to that. I think is all, to me, is my default. I try and work that way if I can. And I tend to be a happier person, I think, as a result.
Much happier when I do that stuff. Not happy when I'm getting in beefs and arguing with people. I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's not, it's like, okay, that's the way you want to go. It's fine. We're going to move along this way. Most recently, I had a conversation with, this program that Craig goes to. One of the things that I've been listening to, Matt, for years is that we can't find direct service professionals. I mean, the people that work with them, and they don't make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's almost paid volunteerism, in some regards, but some people can they string some things together and they get benefits from it. So it's, they get health insurance. So it can work out. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I've told them for years, we're just fishing in the wrong ponds. I mean, if you spread the word and you empower everybody to spread the word, that all your constituents, your employees, your parents, your board members, and all that, we can find people to do this work. Yeah. Like how I found Kyle. Yeah. In the locker room at Sweet Heat Pilates. Ask the question. Yeah. Right. So I know that's my gift. That's what I do. But I mean, and then I found, so what I did was I got on a call with them all. I said, now, if you guys don't find more people, you can't service people you can't bill Medicaid, you can go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So I said, here's a little tip. Why don't the next person we bring on the board be in the staffing business?
Yeah.
Oh. So the next day I woke up and I said, they're not going to do any of that. So you know what Neil did? I found somebody in the staffing business.
Yeah, well done.
And we found somebody for Craig.
Yeah.
And then I further conversations with people like you all over this country doing things like this, I found a group that actually trains you on how to internally keep the people you have and then internally recruit outside. So you don't have these, I mean, to get Craig's latest, there was a finder's fee that had to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter paid it out of her charitable giving fund, but this other group that I found, they train you, and it's like they train 3 people for like $1,000 a month for, I think they need like 12 months of it. So for $12,000, you might be able to, and they profess to have this rate of getting rid of your open applications or open positions in half in the first 6 months.
Wow.
And they're not hawksters. I mean, they're guys that just, they're gonna show you the way.
Yeah.
And I know they exist. So, but that's just another indicator. That's where you're using, your ability, my ability to communicate with people, to the willingness to get on and chat with somebody and just kind of dig deep in it, which just became this path that I went down. It's like, holy Toledo. And I just met nice person after nice person after nice person, and not just nice people, but doers. That's my gig. Like, you want to try.
Really interesting.
I do. I mean, that's
it's
the thing.
Really interesting, Neil, because I think there's, again, my experience here is you tend to find there are different groups of people. There are people that complain for whatever reason. Then you meet people who know what the answer is, and they're usually quite happy to tell you what the answer is. And then there's very few people who don't necessarily complain, but recognize the complaints, who know what the answer is, but then are proactive enough to go and do something about it. And those people almost are like, fairy teeth, aren't they? They're very hard to find in so many ways, and it's a bit of a shame. But that said, I think if you can, and I think this is one of the things I've been trying to teach my kids, especially my boys, is if you recognize a problem and can do something about it, life becomes very different for you. And I think as soon as you start doing that and you have that mindset, you put yourself in that place, you find yourself meeting people in the gym. You find yourself finding these people that maybe you wouldn't have found beforehand and recognizing the opportunity, right?
You attract them.
Mm-hmm.
It is the law of attraction, right? You're attracting, the energy you're putting out, you get it, that you project to be a positive person, solution provider. People want to hang. I mean, they may not. By the way, they may not want to hang with you because because they just want to whine or they want to go about that. And that goes. By the way, my little philosophy, my little credo about when you come to a PACE event, you got to keep your grievances at the door. That wasn't very popular because everybody just wanted to whine. But you know what they should be doing? We should be doing that. So we've kind of adopted around here, and there are no shoulds. I catch myself with a should now and again. Oh, I suggest. Like in my business, when I talk about the positive activity side of our business, we don't coach, we mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Mentor is more collaborative.
Yeah,
we're a collaborative group. We want to hear your opinion. We want to hear, but we want. You ever heard of the improv technique? Yes, and.
No.
Okay, so the improv technique, yes, and, improvisational comedy. Okay, so that's all the sketch comedy. That's all. I mean, like movies like Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, okay. Write that one down. That's
This
one. That's Christopher Guest. That brilliant movie, and it's got Christopher Guest, Eugene Levy. Catherine O'Hara. So the
Oh,
same
wow.
group of people do all. Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy were in Schitt's Creek.
Yes, that's
SCH, by
right.
the way, for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
There.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, but that whole movie is improv,
No way.
and it's all done. They just play off of each other. So nothing ever stops. In other words, if you say to me, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. I'm going to go to you. So you say, the university thing is really off the charts. Yes, and I believe they might want to look into this, that, or the other thing. And you may come back, yeah. And I thought also that maybe this would be a good thing. So the conversation goes, it's not just, no, Matt, you're wrong.
That's really
There's
good.
nothing
I
wrong
like
with
that. I'm going to use that, the yes and thing. Yeah.
You can see YouTube videos on it, and you'll see it all in play. There's actually a book that was written by he goes to corporations and trains people on using improv techniques. A friend of mine wrote a book on Mindspace, I think it was called, using improv techniques to comedy skills to improve your soft skills, something like that. I forget exactly. Bill
I'll check it
Brilliant.
out. I'll check it out.
So.
Listen, Neil, I am very aware of time is dripping away extremely quickly. So I am going to change tack slightly and head to the question box, which I know everybody loves on this show. State-of-the-art graphics.
Yeah, where's that graphic? I got to see that graphic again. It's impressive.
Dun, dun,
there it is.
dun.
No, boom, boom, boom. Sorry. Did you get that on Fiverr?
No, I paid a tenner for it. It's about
99 designs.
That's the more expensive one. So I'm going to flick through the cards. You're going to tell me when to stop, and wherever we stop, that's the question you get.
Stop.
There, right there. Okay, that was a quick one. What is, and I'll show you the question just so you know I don't make it up. What is the most surprising conversation you've ever had?
Wow. Most surprising conversation. Well, that could go in a whole bunch of directions as an ex-bartender. You know that. Oh, no, I shouldn't say. I'm not an ex-bartender. I am always a bartender. I'm always a bartender, always a salesman. But
yeah.
I think my most, one more time, was the most interesting, what was the most
surprising conversation you've ever had?
Most surprising. Wow. That's a tough question. That is a tough one. Surprising conversation I've had because I want to stay in my credo. I don't want to go negative. I want to stay positive. We've had such a positive vibe here. I don't want to go anywhere else.
I know my answer.
Wow, my goodness. Boy, I don't know how to believe I'm stumped. I mean, right after all this ranting I've been doing for the last hour. But
I found a question that stumped Neil. Neil Rogers. This is a first, ladies and gentlemen.
Surprising question, conversation I've ever had. Okay. So we and it was with my daughter. My daughter was a good athlete, a hardworking athlete, in middle school, which is the 6, 7, and 8, somewhere for your folks over there, grade school. And she went and she always we were not highfalutin, but we did belong to the local country club. It wasn't like it sounds a lot more bougie than it is. But she was on tennis. She played tennis, and then anyway, so she played tennis. So that her sports were basketball, basketball and tennis at that time. And she shifted in her so freshman year in high school. She played on the state championship tennis team, and her sophomore, because of the way she played basketball, she played JV basketball. A friend of mine said, "You know what? You got to get that girl on a lacrosse field." Okay. All right. So I can't do anything. So she decided that that's what she wanted to do, and she wound up working with this woman, a young woman who she's still very close to, before basketball practice, learning how to catch and throw a lacrosse ball. right? So, so the next year she tries out for the lacrosse team, and was disappointed because she didn't make the varsity team. After they told her that they're looking for athleticism and whatnot, well, she toasted everybody in the time mile except for the girl who was going to college on a scholarship for the time mile. But anyway, so so sophomore year was that. Her junior year, she went back, and she came home one day giddy because obviously she's on the varsity team now.
Yeah,
giddy. She goes, they just asked me, where am I going to college? What'd you say to him? I said, well, I didn't know. She goes, they think I can play in college. So it was like this. We had no idea. Again, we're back to the thing where we've got our kids' lives planned out.
Yeah.
It's like, holy Toledo. I said, I mean, it's surprising, but in the end, it wasn't. It was just we just weren't thinking in that way. So now Neil's got to get on his horse and get her on a travel program and get her on a strength and conditioning program. We did all that, and she wound up. They won the state championship her senior year, and she went Division I. Well, here that's the top level lacrosse in the country. Mm-hmm. So so I'm good.
Fantastic.
On the spot.
A great story.
That's what I got for you.
Yeah, that's a great story. I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's a great answer to the question. Neil, listen, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to find out more, connect with you for whatever reason, what is the best way to do that?
I would go to, excuse me, folks, positiveactivity.net.
Positiveactivity.net.
That's they'll see all about us. There's a link to the book there. And then my contact information is right on there. So positiveactivity.net. If you want to post, Cam will give you all my socials and all that. And anybody that wants to follow LinkedIn, whatever we do, I'm in. So
fantastic. Fantastic. We will, of course, link to Neil's info in the show notes, which you can get along for free with the transcript at pushtobemore.com. They'll be directing your inbox if you sign up to the newsletter. And, of course, I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They'll also be in the show notes on the podcast app that you're listening to this on too as well. Just scroll down and they will all be there. But, Neil, listen, thank you so much for coming on, man. Thanks for sharing the story. Super inspiring, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't think of a better compliment to pay you than what a fantastic way to spend an hour. Thank you so much,
Matt. I feel the same way.
What a legend!
Legend. And remember,
legend.
When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
Absolutely. Love that. Well, thanks again. And what a great conversation. Massive round of applause. Oh, in fact, let me do the, hang on. Where are we? Here we go. We can do this. Yes. There we go. Get the sound just working right. Massive round of applause again for Neil coming onto the show. Huge thanks also to today's podcast sponsor, PodJunction. For all you change makers out there contemplating podcasting as your new vehicle of expression and marketing, definitely connect with them at podjunction.com. Now, remember, keep pushing to be more. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations up our sleeve and we don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Neil has to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, Push to Be More is brought to life by PodJunction. For transcripts, show notes, and all that sort of good stuff, like I say, just go to the website, pushtobemore.com. But that's it from me. That's it from Neil. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a phenomenal week wherever you are in the world. I'll catch you on the flip side. But for now, keep on pushing. Bye for now.